Hey everybody, hope you're all doing well. Well, I'm doing the ports on the LS head here, and you would think I'd have the head upside down doing the roof. Um, the roof, believe it or not, I'm not really raising it too terrible much because what I'm after here is coming off the back, and I want this even with the back of that seat right there where that air is going to come up and not have tendency to go back this way. And that's what they do from the factory. Too much light in that one, can't show you, but I'm hoping you guys can see what I'm talking about. How even though it's a nice port, it's not really restricted, but it comes off of here, and then the air has plenty of room, don't get me wrong, but then it gets right to this area right here and comes back this way, where I'm taking the sidewall right here, putting a sweep on it. Well, let me show you in here because there's too much light in that one. Putting a sweep on it, all in here. This is going to be all one motion. And rounding it into the floor. And also reducing this hump down back here where it comes in around the valve seat. So I have a very clean area and no restriction except for that little bit of guide, which that guide, the way I have it tapered back here, is not going to hinder these heads. Now, you'll say, yeah, but you said in your last video you hate any kind of restriction and anything in the way. That's true, and you have to do a head according to the application. We have a certain number we're after on these heads, and I'm thankful that the guy who owns these heads is willing to do what he has to do. Him and his brother, I've known them since I've been a young man. I've watched them grow up, and they've watched me turn into an old man. And they've always been friends of the family, and you couldn't ask for two better guys. So, that being said, he already had told me he didn't want a lot of money in these heads. So, I didn't want to tell him that he's going to need new valves, basically, to do these right. Yes, they could be saved. I could clean them up the best I could, and we could get away with that, but he's going to leave performance on the table if we do that. And like I said, him and his brother have always been where they're the type of guys. If they think the car needs a different converter, they'll change it. If they think the cam could be better, they'll change it. If they think a vehicle needs something to run the number that they want it to run, they'll change it. So, outside of not knowing his combination as far as his converter goes, I do know he's willing to put gear in the car, and I do know what the car ran before with an engine that I talk about all the time. Now, he's the guy that I've told you guys about before that had a 392 Windsor, I believe it was, or 393, with Victor heads on it, and it was a pretty nice engine. That engine still runs to this day, and that engine, his full weight Mustang, if I remember right, ran 1070s. So, we're trying to match that number, at least. Now, I don't want to jinx myself and wind up looking like a total fool later on. I don't see any problem with these heads doing that. But, sometimes you can put your foot in your mouth. And I have stinky feet, so I don't want to do that. But that's what we're going after, guys. Looking for a dependable street car, full weight, to run in the 10s and be where there's no hassle, hopefully. That's what he had before. He went to the track, he ran the car, he came home, he parked it. He goes on the street with it, he drove it around, he did everything he wanted to do with that vehicle, and he enjoyed it. And he wants to do the same thing again with this setup. So that's what we're shooting for. So therefore, well, the Edelbrock heads he had on the car before had the guide on them. So I don't think I need to go crazy removing the guide and doing crazy things that I do. And I have to fight myself to cut everything back. But on this application here, I have to hold back and think that he does not want problems with guides cracking out of the head, where I've had other fellas say, push the limit, and they'll cope with it if something happens. This guy does not want that, and I'm right with him. There's no reason for it. And that's what we're after. So I don't think this is going to show up too well when I use my pointer here, because I just kind of put that in there and it didn't really give the right effect. But when I put this back in here, this lays pretty straight to the sidewall. It has a nice sweep and it's very consistent. And even though this port here, with all the light shining through blinding me, so we'll go to this port, isn't bad, but you guys can see, hopefully, that it has the indentation right there, where that's how most people do them. They just blend the bowl, and then whatever this does, they leave most of the time, where I straighten this. Not touching the floor, just taking the high peak out, rounded and then to the floor, to the sidewall. They're very thick here, so that gets tapered in. You can see the machining edge. That might help you tell a little bit how much more meat would be there. And then you can see back here where I haven't really tapered this in as much yet compared to that. And I haven't really gone around up by the seat here either in the back too much. I've tapered it in some, only from this side. So this still has to get done when I flip the head over. So I just wanted to show you guys that. Now, usually I'll raise a port way up, but this port is straight, and I don't think there's going to be any performance gain by doing that, because I already brought it level, the roof, with the rest of the port here is pretty straight, as you can see. I took the lip out of it here, and then I raised it a little bit. Most guys that have these heads know how they go back down a little bit here. And you can probably see where I ground it out. If you could tell where I went back and forth here and just worked my way and tried to level this out. Because one thing nice about the LS is, I hope you can see the ramp that they have. That's what I call a ramp. And if you see how that floor is raised up, to give that air a nice shot to the top here, and it angles it out. I love that about the LS head. To me, these heads remind me of a Brodak head, Brodaks, and some of the other heads, but I don't know, they just mainly remind me, I think, because of the port design on a few of the Brodaks I've seen. And That's a good thing. And like I said, I like seeing the exhaust port like that. If I was to ever design my own head, and it would be like this here. I would raise the roof more, put a little bit more ramp on this, and try to give it even more of a straighter shot to the top. But we have to remember that this is made for a street car. They have to put headers and exhaust on something that's, has to go through inspection and pass emissions. So for this head to be designed like this, to me, well, it's about as good as it's going to get from a factory, unless you go into like a Hemi type style head. So with that being said, I'm hoping these heads will make the power we want it to make. Now, I spoke to him earlier, and like I said, he's willing to get these heads milled. Yes, he's willing to spend the money to get them milled some. And I was thinking that, and I didn't want to bring that to his attention. I thought he's going to say I didn't want to put a lot of money into these heads, and now I'm getting them milled. I'm taking them to a machine shop to get new valves and new seats. Well, I think they can save the seats. I think the seats will be able to be fine as long as they don't have to go crazy changing them too much and just getting by with them, because once you start grinding the seats too much and changing angles, then it changes the rest of the head. So I'm hoping that's not the case. And not that it would be anything major, because these heads are going to work no matter what. I've seen where they put different valve seat angles on, and it's like this here. If you put like a 50 on here or a 55 angle seat, most of the time you're going to lose it downstairs. If you do the opposite, like a 30, well, then you usually increase the heat of the head, and it will be good downstairs, and then it will peter out pretty quick. With all this work done, you'll hinder this head with trying to do fancy angles for low numbers. To me, these heads are made to do what they do. I look for the mid numbers more than anything on a street engine, and that's what this is going on. I think a standard valve and what they came with is fine on these heads for what we're looking for. And I did tell him this. Excuse me, guys. I've been grinding out here and I get where I can't speak too well. If these heads don't do what we think they should, I told him I'll redo them. So he has that in his favor with me. And like I said, I don't think it would be in the heads. I think it would be in something else that he would have going on. But from what I've seen, I think he's on his way, just bolting these heads on. Now, I started to tell you guys, I lose my train of thought all the time, and I apologize for that. But he gave me the approval to say whatever I wanted to say on YouTube about this. And he even offered to show me time slips before and then time slips after. So we have that to look forward to. So good or bad, we're going to see what the heads did and how they did and how well the car ran. Now, one thing we have going on here, he is now putting a cage in the car, so we'll be fine with the comparison of what it runs now with the LS engine and then putting these heads on the same engine. But we won't be fine as far as knowing, comparing it to the old Ford motor, because the car is going to be heavier. So all we'll have to go by is what the car turns now with the cage in it, with the extra weight. So that's what we'll have to go by. We won't be able to go by the car going 1070s before, and then we have this with the heads done, and let's see if it goes 1070s now. That won't be a fair assessment because it's going to be about 100 pounds heavier. So we're going to have to allow for like a tenth of a second. So I hope I'm explaining that right. But like I said, I'm just going to put the other engine out of my hair here, out of my mind. And we're going to go by what we have. We're going to go by how fast it goes with the cage in it, with the engine the way it is now. And then we're going to go by how it runs with these heads once all the work's done. So from what I know right now, the combination will be all the work I've done to these heads. And I think you guys know pretty much what I've done. And I'll be doing another video showing that. And one of the time-consuming things I've really done to these heads, and I'm still working on that, is the runners, straighten them out on the intake side. The LS is the worst head I've seen for straightening the walls out if you want to make them straight. They always have indentations, and you can't get them perfect, but I try my best to still get that as straight as possible. And I did put a very nice unrestricted, well, I think it's unrestricted. I'm not finished, but I'll show you guys if I can get the light in there. Port. Now, I have to flip it around because I have it. I want to show you the other side is what I'm going after here. The other side, I want to show you where I took the bump out. So I think you guys can see the difference. If you know what a stock LS head looks like, they have a big bump down in there. I've smoothed that out. And another thing I did, well, I can't hold the lamp and point things out at the same time, and I have no magnet here to hold that, so it's like this here. What I did do, hang on with me guys, bear with me, is a little more light there. I flatten this out as much as I can and round this way in at the top and make this flat where that air can stay to the top of the roof right here. And I put like a little wall right here where that bump was, and round that in, and it keeps the air to the top of the runner. And then I try my best to smooth that completely out. So I don't know if that even shows up, but this is what I'm working on. I don't know if you guys can tell. There's my mark. You can see how much meat is in here, and they have a low spot here, then they go up here, and they go up here. And it's very hard to smooth all this out and make it straight. Well, at least for me it is with this. If I had a heavy cutter that would really cut the aluminum fast, it wouldn't take me so long. And my fancy way of making them straight too, you guys seen this before, right here. Now, I have a flat sander. It's about that long with a tongue on it. That would be perfect for this. And you know what, guys? I don't have a clue where that's at. The only problem I have with that thing is that it runs too fast. I need to put a controller to turn the speed down because it's way too fast. When I'm doing this stuff, I don't want to polish it. I want to cut it. And one thing I don't want to do is take too much metal at a time because they are thin. So I don't want to take any more metal than I have to, but I do want to take the high spot. And back in there, all the way down towards right before you get to the valve area there. They get real thick down in there. All the way in the back here. You guys can probably see that peak right there. So the metal gets real hard there. So I try to smooth that out here. But I don't want to make it where I wind up putting, and I've talked about this before, where I take my bit and put a low spot, because that actually is worse. If I had to pick and choose between rounding this in here and making a low spot and leaving it like this, well, you'd be better off leaving it like this here, from what I see. I've done that before, and I've watched the air move when I blow the metal out, and I've seen the metal just hang right there. And even with the air blowing it out, it will stay there. The air don't even want to go there. It's just like a ditch if you put a low spot. So anytime you guys do a head, and I keep telling you this, and it's because it's important, you want to make sure it's rounded and tight. You don't want a low spot. You want to make sure it's all consistently tapered in. So it's like here. Now if I was to round this in and then left it where I put my bit here and was grinding here, well, hang on, like this. If I was to grind right here and leave a low spot, well, kind of like you can see right there, where I have tapered this in all the way. Because see, I'm not done. That's what I'm doing. This would not be good to leave that like that. It would actually stagger the air like that. So whenever you do something with a port, you want to make sure that that's leveled completely in. So I hope I'm explaining that right. But anyway, guys, I got to cut this segment short. I'll be lucky if this even uploads, because I've been trying for 3 days to give you guys a video. I tried to give you a Happy Father's Day video yesterday. It wouldn't load. Thank you, Metro. Thank you to my phone, whoever is responsible. Because they don't want to give me my unlimited time, giving me data warnings all the time, like I keep telling you guys. I looked at a new phone today, fellas. So I'm going to try to get a new phone and to do better by you guys. And as of right now, I don't have the funds for that. But I am getting a new phone, so at least you'll have a little bit better, hopefully, quality. The guy says has a very good clear picture and a very good sound quality. So we'll see exactly how good that is when I get it. And my better half, Penny, she investigated it. She looked it up. Everybody bragged the phone up. So we'll see if everybody's right, or if everybody's right and I'm just never content. So we'll see how that goes. But thank you guys for checking this segment out. I appreciate you taking time out of your day every time you stop and look at my videos here, guys. I appreciate it. So God bless yous, and have a good night. I have to get back to work here, guys. Take care.